Good morning, and good morning to not just Pinhole Quilting, but actually from Wales, from the Ruthin Craft Centre here in North Wales. And I'm delighted to welcome Pauline Burbidge. Pauline Burbidge is a Handi quilter ambassador, and this is the very first day of an exhibition that Pauline and her husband Charlie Poulsen have as a joint exhibition. It'll be running until the 10th of July. And Pete, my husband, and I are delighted to be here for this opening of the exhibition. Pauline will now tell us a little bit more about the exhibition, and we're going to go have a little tour of the exhibition. So Pauline, tell us a little bit more about this exhibition.
Right, okay, so the exhibition is called Drawing Parallels, and it's connecting the drawing that both Charlie and I do in our practice of making artwork. And I draw with my stitch line, of course, and he draws with pencil, paper and wax and that sort of thing.
Okay.
We've made all this work over the last 5 years.
Wow.
It's all new work, especially for this show, because the Ruthin Craft Centre, it really is, I consider it, the best place. I mean, it's a fabulous gallery. The best place in the UK to show our work. It's so wonderful to be able to spread our work out here, and see a whole lot of work. Because although we have our open studio every year, we have limited space, and so we can only show certain smaller bits, smaller pieces of work. So, so what we've got here is that we've
managed 5 years' work. What does that comprise in terms of the number of quilts that you've got and the pieces that Charlie has put together?
11 large quilts hanging here.
Yeah.
And Charlie's got 14 of his big size drawings.
Wow.
And so his large drawings are 153 centimetres square.
Okay,
they're all about that big.
Huge, yes.
Yeah, he also does make sculpture, and we've got 2 short videos showing in the exhibition.
Okay.
One is 2 5-minute films by Dominic Clements, one on me and one on Charlie.
Okay.
And then there's also a presentation connected with Marchmont House, which is a fantastic house. It's only 10 miles away from us, and it's kind of changed our lives a lot, having Marchmont in the same area. And Charlie has made lots of sculpture for Marchmont, so the video is about some of the sculpture that he's made. Yeah. Okay. So it's very exciting to suddenly have this show open.
Yes. So what we've got here is an amazing space, which is big enough to house what are very large pieces. So we've got large quilts, we've got large drawings from Charlie, we've got the videos, and we've got a beautiful space in which to house it.
Yeah.
So it's really well worth a visit. So let's have a look around. I mean, Pete's going to be moving the camera around as we look in more detail.
Yeah.
If you could explain some of the background in terms of how you start the process of creating your quilts, and perhaps a little bit of insight into how your background of how you came to creating these quilts. Could you do that? I mean, that's a big ask, actually. 3 hours later. Because I mean, let's take something like this. You know, we can see the sort of, you know, there's a lot of inspiration in terms of what you have around you. In Scotland, is there not?
Yeah, it's around me as well.
Yes. Something like.
I love to work with plant life, and plant life I find completely inspirational, of course. And so you can look at a plant growing one day and look at it 2 days later, and it's completely different in the springtime. So lots of the stitching is inspired by plant life, not only in the borders, but plant life in Italy, where we used to go once a year over to Italy because I'm looking at this and I see the wild barley.
I was thinking it must be barley because you've got those beautiful sort of ears that you get with them.
Which can be growing in Italy. It can be growing around January time, actually.
Really?
And it looks like mid-spring for us.
Yes.
So lots of this plant life is connected either with the Scottish borders or with Puglia in Italy. What I've tried to do in this exhibition, as I started doing the work, I realised, the backs look really great as well. So I've put black on the back of the quilts, and that was determined to show both sides of the quilts.
Right.
So white on one side and black on the other. So they're almost like reversible size pieces. They are actually functional and usable pieces. These quilts have gone into the washing machine.
Have they really?
And,
that's amazing.
You know, after I've done all the drawing and things, made it fast, and then put the top cloth into the washing machine before I even start quilting it. And then at the end, after I've done all the stitching, I stick it in the washing machine again, so that these ones are completely functional.
Really functional quilts.
And they won't change from this, you see.
No. Well, it's interesting you say that, because you know the number of times that we have our quilters, quite often they'll do the front, then they'll turn it around and everybody goes, wow, the back is amazing. We kind of miss the fact that we love the backs
of things.
So to see these and think about that when you're starting the process is a really good idea.
I don't even see the backs of these until after I've taken them off the machine. But I find that they're so much less self-conscious. That's what I love about the backs. You're not thinking, that stitch line goes there. You see the flow of the work a lot more. You know, so.
And you've got your hand stitching.
I do hand stitching as well. On these quilt line pieces, I don't do a huge amount of hand stitching, but I do some. Like these sort of smaller areas. So it's mostly machine stitching on this.
And you've got is this Markle? Or, so this is this is drawn on the top cloth with a Markle stick. And but then I sometimes use smaller. I've forgotten the name of the pencil that I use now. Inktense. Well, actually, it's not Inktense on this one. It's something.
But there is Inktense on the other one.
The other one.
There is
the
actually
German one.
no. This is. I actually used the China graph pencil on this. I've just remembered.
China graph, right?
And it's dark to start with, but after you've washed it, it goes a little bit paler. I kind of knew that was going to happen, but.
So it's more subtle.
So these days I tend to use the Inktense pencil after your demonstration. It was after your demonstration. I watched.
Amazing.
And
lovely.
So this is inspired by the hedgerows that are around us in the borders. In the winter months, they chop all the hedges, and there's this great sort of flat edge of the top of the hedge, and so that was very inspiring for me.
So it's that new growth that comes up after that flat. Quite sort of dramatic cut.
And also in the winter months, just seeing the bare wood making all these little shapes. And I think when I look at things in nature, I love to see how the mark making can develop. You know, so I look at something like a hedge, see all these shapes in it, and I think, I can really make some good marks from that.
So you're taking those lines.
And that's just to draw on the top cloth, and then I develop the mark making and think of more continuous line stitching when I'm working with the machine and the quilting.
Now I've seen you with your Avante, because you've got a Handi quilter Avante, and you have your sketchbook the other side of the machine quite often, don't you?
I do,
So you're kind of referencing
it to
those
begin
sketchbooks
with.
To begin with, and then you've already got it in your mind then.
I might do a larger drawing on a bigger piece of paper, more the size of what I'm going to stitch. And then I put that to one side and think, right, I'll just go for it now and just work freehand.
Yeah.
It'll always be different, very different than the drawing, but that's the beauty of it. I like it when things change in the middle of developing them.
It's like an evolution, isn't it? It's
that's
sort
right.
of developing then from what you've already got in your mind, and now it's kind of evolving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, this is the back of one, but it's connected with plant life around the steading.
Oh, we'll look at the front.
And you could maybe see
some of Charlie's,
some of the mark making, perhaps it happens with with Charlie's drawings.
Definitely.
Like we do inspire each other, I think, although we don't know it. We just work in our separate studios, but we definitely influence each other without knowing it, really.
Yeah.
So these have definitely got big mark making pieces on them. Charlie works a lot with music as well. Quite often, classical music is sort of full pelt in his studio, and so is influenced quite a bit from the music.
Right.
But,
there's great depth, isn't there, to those pieces. They look, this is something that's flat, and yet you've got huge depth and shadow and texture within it, without having the texture of it.
Without having, I know, there's a lot
that's amazing.
There's a lot of, some of the other drawings particularly, they kind of almost look like textiles to me.
Yeah, to me, that looks like a textile piece.
And so, there's definitely a lot of layers of things.
Lots of layers.
Yeah, and he's working with pencil and gouache, watercolour. Wax as well, layers of wax on the drawing.
Because my first question is how. It's almost like when you listen to an incredible piece of music, you want to know what made that. You want to watch the orchestra play. With this, you want to know, how did he do that? So it's resistance.
I can't tell you, really.
No, but that's,
he can't tell you.
But that's intriguing. That's kind of why you sometimes.
Because again, it just evolves as it goes along. Yeah.
Good.
Is
this the Pitt Rivers?
Yeah. So this is like a large special piece of work,
right?
And very connected with a visit that I made to the wonderful Pitt Rivers Museum.
Yes.
And did lots of drawings from their great collection.
Amazing.
And
so Pitt Rivers, for those who don't know, if you could just explain.
Oxford, it's a museum of ethnography is such a long word. I know. I can never get it right.
Ethnography.
So the study of mankind, in the world, sort of thing. And it's got lots of wonderful ancient things in all these Victorian type of cases, jam-packed in the cases, but from all over the world, and things that are just made from very basic things, sticks and stones and string, and then they've made something really clever with that.
Basic things.
So it's very inspiring just to see the wonderful objects. So, and then I was just drawing lots of things I saw. So there's like musical instruments, very basic musical instruments, including one like this, which looks like an ice cream cone on there, but it's actually an oboe made from silver birch bark, and it's only about that big with a little reed in the top, and it's an oboe. So I love things like that. Or there was a lot of things connected with fishing and fishing nets.
Yes.
And
because fishing is such an essential way of survival for humanity.
That's right. Yeah. And bark cloth, the patterns on the bark cloth that were from the Philippines, actually.
Okay.
The bark cloth, and various different drawings of just animals and fish. And so again, the back on this one's really interesting. It's so you get that.
With those
I mean, I
well.
almost prefer the back. You know, it's like, because it's not. It's like leaving the conscious to one side, you know. So I didn't know how that was going to turn out, and then you look at it at the end, and it's kind of exciting to see.
These lines that we've got left.
Yeah.
I love the top. Yeah. That top layer.
Yeah. So, and on this one there is a lot of hand stitching as well as the machine stitching. Yeah. So a piece like this I'm trying to sell for a lot of money.
Yes. Yes.
And I've elected to put a % towards the Wildlife Trust on this one.
On that one.
And there's another quilt over there which I've elected to put a % towards plant life.
Oh yes.
So those two things to just,
wonderful.
You know, as I was stitching away in lockdown, you think, oh, I've got to try and do, and then the awful news about how we're getting on with the globe, terrible.
Then you think plant life, yes.
You know, to try and do something to help with all that. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And some more, I mean, just stepping back from this.
Yeah.
So you see the density of the mark making.
Yeah. And again,
you really get that.
I mean,
texture.
It's like threads, isn't
like
it? A whole
threads.
lot of threads.
Just so much depth.
Yeah.
And
And this one's particularly, I feel that's textural as well. Yeah.
You could almost put your hand behind it.
Yeah, because there's lots of
It's like a
transparency
net.
sort of feeling to it. Yeah. So.
That's subtlety of.
I suppose if you're talking about how I start with something, we have got a case over there with some sketchbooks and
very good.
drawings in them.
Let's talk as well about the Cyanotype.
The Cyanotype. So with this one, it's called Global Horizon. The horizon is our hill that we see near us, the Cheviot.
Oh yes.
And so that actual horizon is from that.
Okay.
And again, what I've done is stitched in the pit rivers type of things into the landscape. This was my first go at doing that. The back's interesting on that as well, but we could only hang. Anyway, the Cyanotype.
Yes.
I kind of went to town and printed up lots of different things on different cottons and silks, and
that's beautiful.
and so with Cyanotype, it's like you have the fabric, and it's a light-sensitive photographic process. So you have the chemicals on the fabric that are light-sensitive.
Yes.
You've got to keep it in the dark, and then think, what do I want to print? So here, for instance, I've got the ferns that I wanted to print on that thin fabric.
So you lay those on.
So I lay those on in the semi-dark, in the sort of makeshift darkroom in the bathroom, and I put the ferns on top of it, and then put black paper over the top. And it's a bright sunny day, and you get out to the backyard, put it down, take the black paper off, and let the sun expose the images. Yeah. So
it's exposing those bits.
It's going round there and making that bit exposed.
And you're judging that by your experience?
No, you just do it for 10 minutes. It's all very hit and miss.
It is very,
And
I guess.
And so then the bits that are not exposed are the fern shapes on that bit. And then you have to quickly, after 10 minutes of bright sunshine exposing that, you get rid of the ferns on it, put it straight into water, and just swish it round in water, and then it stops the chemicals working altogether. Right. And you don't know if it's worked or not, and then you let it dry, and it's all begins to go blue over the next 12 hours or so. Okay. And then you begin to see what you've done.
So I mean, that's a pretty either exciting or disappointing process.
Yeah, it can be both.
So it can,
I mean, I do remember once I was trying to take a print of the hedge. I thought, that'll be good. I'll just take the print of the hedge.
So you just.
But the only thing is, the hedge is this wide, and I was up there like this. Right, and then someone came to the door and I couldn't move.
Timing was not great.
Yeah. And it didn't work the whole hedge didn't work because it was that fat.
So not recommended.
It was a try.
Ferns good, hedge not good, particularly when visitors come.
It was used, this process was invented in 1842.
Wow.
And it was used for botanical illustration in the early days.
Before they were...
It's the same time as photography was being developed, and they felt this was better for doing the botanical side of things,
What I absolutely love is the intensity of the blue, because it's just the most gorgeous.
It's a bit like, it's a very indigo type of blue, but I'm not using indigo.
No.
And
the subtlety of the shading of it, because of the variation of how much light gets through, is just absolutely amazing. And it's those overlays, the way you've got that and created that. It's
because that's what happens with, I've printed on the thin silk organza.
Okay.
And then the minute you put things one on top of the other, it really does change it all together like this. Yeah.
It's really, that's a stunning quilt. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
And now these
are a bit like 3D drawings that Charlie's done. He thinks of them as that. For this show, it's very connected with drawing. And Charlie does also make sculpture, but he's chosen these ones because they're like 3D drawings, really.
Yes.
So this is made of lead and wood and wax and wood. And this one is made from Screwfix catalogues.
Oh my word!
And they're all in there.
There we go, Pete. We now know what you can do with those Screwfix catalogues.
So,
it is.
Yeah. So
I mean, other catalogue companies could be used, but I think it's appropriate.
We better give them a good advert.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So here we see the other side of the one.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the one
this particular. This is a good one of the beans that were all growing out in Puglia, in the garden in Puglia. They put the beans in to put goodness back into the soil.
Oh yes, okay.
And
so nitrogen enriching.
And again, this is the back of the quilt, and I just like the way, particularly on bits like that, where you didn't know what was going to happen.
Absolutely.
And it just happens a bit like looking at the actual growth of the plant. Everyone is totally different. So
it's that unique effect. Lovely.
Yeah.
And this one, I was interested to see what this looked like on the front.
Those are pulsatilla. No, is it pulsatilla? Potentilla. Oh, I've forgotten.
No, it could be pulsatilla.
It's like the little purple bell-shaped flowers to start with, and then they go into a wonderful seed pod. Pulsatilla, yeah.
Which is a lovely plant. So it's actually a really good healing plant. It's used in homeopathy.
It's a gorgeous plant. It's in flower now.
Right.
And then it goes off into these extraordinary seed pods of just going like. So this was an attempt at drawing the seed pods there.
Lovely.
Yeah. And so these were plants in our garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of
this is sketchbooks.
The sketchbooks, they're quite. So that kind of just this is how I start really. So I make a little mask, a square mask to draw within quite often, like with those two things.
Yes.
And then you get a lovely sort of edge, like the edge that I was talking about on the hedges.
Hedges, yeah.
So then I draw within that, and then I might do drawings of drawings, like those.
Yes.
Could be drawings, well, not of that, but to begin to develop the shapes.
Yeah.
Those again are hedge road drawings, really. So, you know, I might start with one and then just develop it a little bit along the way and decide where I want the dark and light a bit. Or those ones are connected with the Pitt Rivers drawings, those line ones.
I think the thing that I can see that probably, you know, someone who's not practicing as you have done over many, many years, is how you develop. How you develop a design, how you develop a form.
Yeah.
It's this practice, it's this taking a shape, taking the mark making and taking it and developing it and processing it. I think that's something that most people wouldn't know to do.
I think in my drawing, I either do mark making or I do continuous line drawing. And I try and physically think of those two blocks as being very different.
Yeah.
So the mark making, I would develop into the drawing on the quilt, and the continuous line drawing, I develop into the quilting.
Yes,
the quilting is the drawing.
Got you. Yes.
So there's those two things, but you know, I might just sit and draw a plant, and then I try and get myself into thinking of, is this mark making or is this continuous line drawing?
You separate those two elements. Right. That. Wow.
So this is the back of a piece called Before the Dinosaurs. It's all ferns you'll see on the front of it.
Gosh, it's so interesting to see the back first.
So the back of it is, and again the stitching has made mark making on that one, if you know what I mean, just like abstract mark making.
So interesting. And what are you using for this?
For that one, I use cotton abroder.
Oh yeah,
it's fabulous to just slide through the thick cloth.
Yes,
I've tried lots of thick thread, and that's the one that really works for me for the hand stitching. Yeah, and then with the machine stitching,
it's obviously got quite a nice finish to it, hasn't it? So it's not.
It's kind of just.
It's a single strap. It's a single twist. No, cotton abroading?
No. No, it's twisted.
It is twisted.
Twisted.
I'm trying to think because I'm not.
No, there is another cotton that is stranded cotton. I don't use that because it all knots up.
Yeah.
This is twisted and it just slides through wonderfully. Yeah. So again, loads of hand stitching on that. That was definitely.
Is this the one plant knife?
Yeah, plant knife. Yeah, this is what. So this is the front of it.
Oh wow!
And you know, I mean, it was just like my mind was just going on to what. Oh yes.
You've got those there now.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Just one thing at a time.
Yeah.
By the way,
it's good.
Thank you for the piece. It's lovely.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We're just on Facebook Live.
Yeah. So you've just come in on Facebook Live.
Sorry.
That's right. That's okay. That's good.
Jolly good. Right.
So this is on.
So this is thinking of before the dinosaurs, what the Earth was like before any animals came. I don't know. My mind sort of started thinking about that as I'm stitching away. Ferns were one of the first early plants, you know, that came about.
Yeah.
And then these are we've got a wonderful plant in the garden, and it's a giant inula, and these great big leaves. It's a perennial plant that just shoots out of the earth every year, and it grows to about 9 foot high or something. It has these lovely veiny leaves on it.
Yeah,
and I've rubbed it onto cotton organdy fabric. Yeah, so which is a bit like paper somehow.
It just has such a texture to it. It is so veiny what you've created.
Yeah,
beautiful. Okay,
so that's another special piece that.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
And so a number of these pieces are for sale.
They're all for sale except for one piece. Yeah. Everything's for sale, including some small little framed pieces.
Those
yeah,
ones down
yeah,
there?
down there.
Okay.
Or the,
Lovely.
so there's some small little box frame pieces as well. Yeah.
Okay, and the video, I can see there's you're using the Avante.
Yeah,
just
that's
down.
right.
That's
Yeah.
it.
So
that's you actually quilting
yeah,
using the
these
micro
are-
handles.
That's right. So small little
Yeah.
snippets of that.
Yeah. Great.
Working with the
Working on the
machine,
machine.
concentrating.
Well, I can see the immense concentration there, Pauline. Yeah, you're clearly working extremely hard at this quilting.
This is actually the piece I've got on the machine now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, it's lovely to be able to see the moving image of you actually creating
Yeah.
at an exhibition.
It is nice,
Yeah,
isn't
I think
it?
that combination
Yeah.
of seeing the quilts and then how you created them.
Yeah.
And talking about them for people who aren't aware of what's involved in creating.
It kind of
Obviously, a lot
does
of our
bring
customers
things
will
to
be-
life a bit, I think,
Yeah.
and make it a bit real.
Yeah, great. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think what will have been interest, hopefully, for people who've been watching this either live or they can watch it on YouTube and on Facebook on Catch Up. I think it gives people hopefully the idea of what's in here. But there are other exhibitions here as well. So people who come to this exhibition space, there's quite a diverse range of exhibitions.
There's two other galleries,
here,
and
too.
one
and a lovely cafe too, by the look of it.
Yeah, it's a really good place to visit.
It
Really
is.
fantastic.
So I definitely would recommend it.
And it's on until all the way up until the 10th of July.
Yes.
Is it going anywhere after that?
It's not actually. No, this is it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So definitely make the most of it while it's on here.
Yeah.
If you're coming to Wales, so either Mid Wales or North Wales, and it's not very far really from Mould and from that sort of the northwest.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth coming, and I hope that it's provided an insight into what Pauline and her husband Charlie have done in terms of the creation of this very special exhibition that with the work they've created over the last 5 years. Anything else that you want to add?
I can't think at the moment.
Well, I know what it takes. I have some idea of what it takes to put together, sort of an exhibition or, put together something like this. And I know that you've put an awful lot of effort. And of course, because of COVID, things were delayed as well. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
On this opening. And
Well,
you've got
thank
a talk tomorrow.
Tomorrow we give a talk at 11:30.
That's on the Sunday the 10th at 11:30.
It needs to be booked into because they can't take too many people.
That's right.
And I'd like to say thank you to you both as well for all the support in supporting the wonderful machine that I've got.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's an absolute pleasure to see what you were able to create on the Handi Quilter. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. You've certainly made the most of the machine. So brilliant. Okay. Well, listen. Enjoy today and the fruits of all the success of the hard work you've both put in. So,
good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. And thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you on our next Facebook Live. We'll let you know when that is. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. And happy quilting.